Okay, now, I was going to start off with a small, it's a joke really, that I borrowed from Boris Johnson. And you have to be in tune with British politics to understand it. When I used to work for BP, and some people have heard me say this before, I once gave a terrible presentation. And the CEO said, look, David, that was really the worst thing I've ever heard. And you have to remember that there's always 4 points in any good talk. That has now been revised, and to repeat what Chris Huhn said to his wife one morning, I now have 3 points to offer you. The first one is on safety. We always start here. Whenever we've done one of these, there's never been a drill or any sort of emergency. It will be manifestly obvious if the alarm goes off, because you won't be able to hear the speaker. Our instructions are to follow the green signs, which are at 3 or 4 points of the room, I think. And follow the signs and it takes you out to the plaza in front of the Royal Academy. And we do have a list of who's here, so we can take a roll call. Second point is there is always at least one person who forgets to turn their mobile phone off, and we're therefore treated to a rendition of the Stars and Stripes Forever or Flower of Scotland or something. If you could just make sure your phone is off. I think the last meeting or the meeting before, I did have somebody come up to me in the break and say, unless you do something about this, you're going to have the first murder ever committed in front of 150 people. Because the lady in front of me is texting on her BlackBerry and is going click, 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 and I can't stand it. So don't text on your BlackBerry either, please. That's my second point. Third point is just to thank the sponsors today, who are Petroleum, Spectrum, Bernstein, RPS Energy, and the Dutch Geoconsultancy. Now, you know, we try and put the agenda for our events ahead sort of 6 months in advance, at least get them on the website at that point. And, you know, when I did this for today and this topic, North Africa, and the Eastern Mediterranean 6 months ago, I had no foresight at all, other than the fact that there was a piece of Africa we've not talked about before in this setting. We've talked about East Africa once or twice, Southern Africa, West Africa, particularly in the deep water context. And we've not talked about North Africa, and I just had so I didn't have any great foresight that it would be a singly opportune moment to talk about North Africa, given everything that's happening. The fresh unrest in Egypt and Tunisia, the continued volatility in Libya, and the events, terrible events in Algeria. And I guess it'd be easy now, particularly if you read the media and the Times, for example, to sort of paint North Africa as a no-go area, and actually the eastern end of North Africa and into the Levant, because of what's happening in Syria and so on. And I think where we are today is to try and do two things. One is to step back and get several views, particularly on what the opportunities actually are, which is where I started with the agenda. And then, you know, what the politics really look like, and what the security situation is, and what the risks might be. We do have a new sort of feature in our program, and I'm keen to get some feedback on how it goes. One of the things that's very obvious about our events is that people typically enjoy the content, they enjoy the presentations, especially if they're not a sales pitch by the company involved. They enjoy networking because, you know, when you look at it, we have half an hour before the event, 20 minutes or so in the middle, an hour perhaps at the end. And people enjoy the Q&A. And we thought perhaps we'd try and formalise that a little bit more by introducing the idea of a panel discussion and seeing if that was a way to produce some discussion that people found interesting and so on. So we'll have a panel discussion at 12:30. You can see who the three speakers will be and what that's about in your agenda. We're going to start off, as we often do, with our friends from Bernstein, Oz Clint in particular, who's going to stand back and look at North Africa production, exploration, and some of the issues viewed from the perspective of the market, looking into it and looking at the various companies that are involved. So, Oz, over to you.